So I can post them on YouTube so y'all can view later in case y'all need to see anything. I'm answering someone in group me. All right, so I'm guessing you guys don't want to talk today, and I understand it's the first day. So, anyways, we're going to find the domain and range of the function, and you guys want to let me know how you would go about this first and find the domain and the range. You can put it in the text chat. You can talk with a microphone if you want to. Because these aren't really supposed to be lectures. All right. Since you guys don't want to do it, I made this in a hurry. I forgot I had to make these the day before and to submit them before. So if you have this function right here, -2, that's, you got to identify each term, and a term is separated by a plus or minus sign. You have to identify each term in its domain. So the domain of -2 is from -infinity to infinity. So that's no problem. But the domain of this square root function, square roots have to be positive. So what I like to do is I like to set up an inequality equation because it has to be greater than or equal to 0. I solve for x. You get x has to be less than or equal to 1 for it to work. And be careful, so the domain is from -infinity to 1 since it always has to be less than or equal to 1. Am I making sense to anybody? Anybody confused? You can speak up in the chat or you can type in the meeting chat. Okay. And now for the range. This is like an asymptote, so it shifts the whole thing down 1. So that doesn't really, that affects it, but you have to identify the range of this one. And then the range of a square root function, this one, let me just go to Desmos. No, I had that wrong. See, since it's 1 minus x, it'll shove up and to the left, all the way up into infinity. And if you didn't have this -2 here, it would start right here. So if you're just dealing with this function, it's from 0 to infinity, the range. We're talking about the range here. But since you have the -2, it shifts the whole thing down 1. So your range ends up being -2 to infinity. And it is -2. It does say -2. This right here is wrong. That's supposed to be parentheses. But it does touch -2, so you need a bracket instead of a parentheses. Any questions? All right. This one's a little bit different. It's y equals square root of 16 minus x squared. So like I said, to find the domain, I like to set up an inequality. And then when you solve for x, you get x squared right here. But when you take the square root across a inequality, you have to add the absolute value bars. These are important. That's how you get the domain in here, because this can't be less than 0, but x squared is always positive, so you're always subtracting a positive answer. So the absolute value of -4 is 4, so it can't be greater than 4. Actually, no, I think I looked this up yesterday. They were on this side, but you're supposed to, it makes more sense if you put them on this side. Is less than or equal to x. So I looked at this is the proper way how I did it, but it makes more sense if you put it on this side. Yeah, a square root. If you get, I just saw your message. Sorry, if you get a square root, a square root of -1. Remember how that came out to an imaginary number? So imaginary numbers, you can't plot them. So these have to be greater than or equal to 0 inside the radical. So this has to be greater than or equal to 0 always. Hope I answered your question right there. Okay, so but if so anything between -4 and 4 is in the domain, because this will always be greater than 0. Because if you got -4 squared, it's 16. So 16 minus 16 equals 0. And if you got 4 squared, it's the same thing. All right. And how I figure out the range for these, if you square both sides of y, you get an equation of a circle with a radius of 4. You guys remember what the equation of a radius of a circle is? Yeah, I'm writing with a mouse, so if it's a little bad, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry about my handwriting too. I've tried to fix it many times, it never works. So that's the equation of this circle that it would turn into. But x squared plus y squared equals r squared for the radius. So if you graph this one, it's y equals it's half a circle. So if you just imagine the entire circle is from -4 to 4, but since you're only worried about the top half, because if you have the bottom half, it fails the vertical line test. So we only accept the top half in these. But you can see there's a radius of 4 right here. Excuse my voice. Allergies are hitting me hard today. But you have a radius of 0 to 4, and it touches both 0 and 4, so you can put the brackets on there. And we're going to find the domain of a natural log equation right here. Natural log of x minus 3. Do you guys remember how to work with natural logs? I'll assume that's a yes. I really don't know. So a logarithm is domain is if you just have like ln of x, the domain is 0 to infinity. Always. So a natural log can't, the inside of a natural log can't be less than 0. It's the same concept as the square root. So if you do such a natural log of, well, I showed it right here. That has to be greater than 0. So x minus 3 is greater than 0. So x has to be greater than 3. So the domain in its parentheses, not brackets, because if you type in, I feel like it's easier if I just show you guys. If you type it in, it never touches 3. This is a 3 line. If you get rid of this, it never touches 0. That's a vertical asymptote. So that's why that's that case. And it's because it's the inverse of a exponential equation. So if you have like e to the x 3, I think, yeah. and then you have this one, get x. An inverse reflects the function across the y equals x line. This is the y equals x line right here. So the natural log of x minus 3 is the inverse of e to the x plus 3 because it's reflected across that line. Natural logs and logarithms are just inverses of exponential equations. Y'all went over that today, but figured I'd go over that again real quick. Anyways, so the domain is from 3 to infinity, and the range is from negative infinity to infinity. You can see how it just drops all the way down. It just keeps going to infinity. And this very slowly goes to infinity. It will eventually go to infinity, but very, very slowly. And here's a rational equation. What I do for the domain, you find out the denominator for polynomials and rational equations. The denominator cannot equal 0. But since this is x squared, so this will always be positive and it's plus 4, this is always greater than 0. So your domain, since this one's from negative infinity to infinity, this one's from negative infinity to infinity. I don't know if I said this before. You look where the terms overlap. And everywhere they overlap is the domain. So, and the numerator, if you have like a natural log function, you have to check that out too, or a radical function. Make sure it always exists. And for the range, you since it's the same degree on the top and bottom, if y'all remember it, you do the why am I blanking? The ratio of leading coefficients is what I'm trying to say. So you have like for the highest degree, so you have like x squared. Say if this was x cubed, you wouldn't be able to do it. But since they're both x squared, you do the ratio, so it's 3 over 1. So you have a horizontal asymptote at I thought I wrote it, at y equals 3. So let me graph this real quick. 2 plus 3. Am I making sense to anybody? If you got any questions, please let me know. I'll try my best to explain them. This is supposed to be a safe place to fail and learn. So it's 0 and 2. Right, yeah. So normally, if you took out this 2 right here, the equation would be like this. It can't be negative because these x squared is always positive and x squared is always positive, so it cannot be negative. And you'd have a horizontal asymptote at x equals 3. But since we have the 2 in here, it shifts the whole thing up too. So you have horizontal asymptote at x equals 5 instead. And it just shifts this up too. So that's why your range is from 2 to 5. And it never touches 5, but it does touch 2. All right, and a lot of y'all were struggling on this the last time. So we're going to go over some of this. So f of x equals x plus 1, and g of x equals 3x, and h of x equals 4 minus x. And this right here, f of g of h of x, is the same as f those are the same, they mean the same exact thing. The same thing. So I don't know if some of y'all got confused about that last time, but that's pretty much what they mean. So what I do is I'll start inside out. And what I mean inside out, you have this function, h of x, and then it's plugged into g of x. So I do that one first. So you find g of h of x, so you get 3x, so 3, and you plug in 4 minus x, and you get 12 minus 3x. If I'm losing anybody, you got to let me know. And since you know what this is, it comes, you can plug it in right here. Once you find this, you can just plug that in. And you have x plus 1, so you plug in g of h of x into where x was, and you add 1. That's all that is. And if you got 5 or 6, you just start with the first one and work your way out until you get done with it. I think I did. Yeah, I did f of x. That was a bit of a tongue twister. So you just do f of x. So you plug in x plus 1 where x was, because your function was x plus 1. And you end up with x plus 2. And then you plug in f of x to where x was for the next step, and you get x plus 2 plus 1, and it ends up with x plus 3. So, where they give you f of x but not g of x, and you have to find. I'd have to see the homework. So they give you f of x, and they give you the answer, and they give you the answer, and you have to work backwards. So you just start from the outside. So, do you remember what the question was? Okay. F of x equals x divided by x minus 6. Okay, so, all right. This is for next time. What am I doing? This is, give me a second. Wednesday, in this session I'm doing Wednesday, we're going to go over the trig identities and everything to help you guys out with that. So f of x equals x divided by x minus 6. And then f oh, y'all can't see it, my bad. Whoops. Equals 2x. So that's simplified, right? Okay, yeah. That's what makes it hard. Now let me think about this. X minus 6. So you're plugging in a g of x that gives you this. So x but it's not, you don't need to set it up like that. That's the wrong way to set it up. So you need to find what you plug into here ends up with this. I'm just going to put A. Usually with these problems, I literally just like guess until I get it right. So and A is what you'd plug in. Just give me a second. Right here, I just, oh, you can't put it up. Whoops.
So wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, y'all.
Okay.
Oh, y'all are welcome to talk and encouraged to talk.
So this is what I did for that problem. I believe that person's trying to find what g of x is.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I did was I have f of g of x, is equal to whatever f of x that x is, I plug in g of x. So it'll be g of x divided by g of x minus, what is that, 6 or b?
Yeah, 6.
A 6, yeah, so it'll be a g of x divided by g of x minus 6.
So you did,
And then you already know that it's equal to 2x.
yeah. So you did g of x. Oh yeah, you plug it. That's what I was doing with that.
Yeah.
I just used a because it's easier to write. So g of x, I guess I should write it over here. I didn't want to write g of x every time. Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Okay, yeah. That's easier to do too.
I'm writing with a mouse, so it's
Yeah, that's difficult.
yeah, I don't want to spend $1,200 on a surface. So
Yeah.
so when you're solving for a right here, so this is a 6, not a b. I can't write. All right. I should have known this. Let's just get me back to where I started. I really don't want to distribute this, but I'm going to have to. All right. Y'all should see, if y'all have to take Calc 2, you're going to be doing a lot of stuff like this, including substitution. Y'all got to let me know if I did it right.
Yeah, that looks good right now.
Yep. So A equals, hang on. I'm going to go ahead and put in g of x. If any of y'all got any questions along the way, please let me know. So g of x equals 12x. So this would be the answer. I at least think. I'll do this on the computer. All right. That's what I think the answer would be. Do y'all have any questions about what I did? Y'all need me to scroll up? Can you zoom out with OneNote? No.
Wait, how did you know someone asked that question? I don't see like a chat.
If you
Oh,
go,
I see conversations.
yeah,
Yeah. I think, can you guys hear me?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think what I did wrong is I didn't replace the g of x with a.
Oh, you don't have to.
I left them all as x. So whenever you got 2ax, I had 2x squared. So I think that's where I messed myself up at.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, but now that I'm yeah, I think I got it now.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have
Concerns?
It might be tedious, but I just want to see the process how you would go about. This is for the prerequisite skills quiz for chapter 2.
Okay.
It's gonna be j to j cubed
Okay.
plus k cubed
Plus. All right.
divided by j cubed minus k cubed.
And what does it want me to do?
And then, it's not done yet. So that whole fraction is multiplied by another fraction.
Okay.
The numerator is gonna be j square, or yeah, j square minus k square divided by j square plus 2jk.
That's squared.
Yeah. Plus k square. And it's just finding the product, simplifying your answer.
All right. Well, this is what my math teacher in high school called identical twins. You can simplify this one out and this one. They're just this. If y'all remember SOAP, you have to use that on these. So you have the same sign for like. Okay. So for the top, you'd get J plus K times, because of the same sign, then you have J squared plus, oh, no, opposite from SOAP. So you have S and then O.
So you have to like memorize that formula, kind of.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
SOAP. The word SOAP.
Can you break it down what SOAP is? I think it'd be easier for me to try to
Yeah,
memorize.
and then always positive. Yeah, I'm trying to write it out. Okay. And K squared.
So this is useful for like later on classes, later down the road too.
Oh yeah, it's useful all the time.
Okay.
So SOAP. All right. So same sign. You want screw it. So S means same sign. So you keep the same sign right here. See this plus sign? I kept it right here for this initial part. O is the opposite sign. Right. So right here, that's a plus. So this one right here will be a minus. And then AP stands for always positive. So no matter what this sign is, this one right here will always be, I don't know if y'all can see my pointer. This one right here will always be positive. So all this right here came from right here. And these could have numbers right here. These could have variables. It doesn't matter. It's just a formula. So on this one, you just do this one plus this one. Just don't cube them. And then you multiply by this one, the first term squared, minus the product of these two terms. Or no, opposite sign of the product of these two terms, and then always positive of this term squared. Did I lose anybody? Any questions?
Oh, that's good.
So is that the answer right there?
No, that's good.
No, that's
No.
not. That's just factoring the
That's
numerator.
factoring up this part right here.
Right here.
Okay.
So the bottom would be j minus k, and then j square plus jk plus k squared. And then that's when you can, oh no, you have to. So I guess after this is factoring the right hand side.
Yep. So what's this one right here?
So it'll be like t minus. Okay, yeah, right.
I forget the term. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like perfect square or something. I don't know.
Yeah, perfect square. My teacher in high school called them fraternal twins because they're the same thing, just have opposite sign.
Got it.
And this one right here, you can factor this one too. She called these identical twins because it's the same thing over and over again. It just wanted you to simplify this, right?
Yeah, finding products, simplifying. Okay.
All right. So this cancels out with this. This cancels out with this. This cancels out with this.
And then that's your answer.
Then you're just left. No. Okay. See if this does again. My screen goes in and out in black when I'm drawing and recording for some reason on OneNote. I'd love to use the whiteboard feature on Teams, but I can't record it. It's really annoying. So you're left with that, and that's your answer. The simplified answer, you can't get any simpler. Any questions about that? All right. Well, if not, we'll go back to this. Let's just know y'all have seen that. All right. Do y'all need help graphing, or would y'all rather me go over the quiz from today?
I would be fine with going over the quiz.
Okay. Everybody else fine with going over the quiz? Because I'm going to post these later, and you can see how I did my work. Yeah. So, all right. Oh, I'm not even showing all this. Wow. Okay. Keep forgetting. All right. Let me pull up the quiz really quick. He emails me a PDF, or he didn't last time, but he did this time, so I could actually help y'all out, but y'all didn't seem to need help this time. All right. All right. Can y'all see the quiz?
So I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This was just graphing the function. What is this type of function right here?
The exponential.
Yep. All right. What do you know about an exponential function? Say that a equals 1/3. All right. What do y'all know? What does that mean?
Isn't that the cube root?
No. That's x to the 1/3. This is 1/3 to x.
Or this is 1/3 to x.
Oh.
Okay, so.
Well, the higher the number that x is, it gets less, like,
Yes.
down, but it never reaches 0.
Yes.
So when a is greater than 1, you have an exponential growth function, meaning it's going to get larger as you move to the right. But when a is between 0 and 1, it gets smaller as you move to the right. This will always be positive, always, since there's no negative sign in front of it. But since you're moving down, yeah, but since it's between 0 and 1, it's exponential decay. So if it was 3 to the x, it looks something like this. But since it's 1/3 to the x, it's getting smaller as it moves to the right. Make sense? Everybody follow along? But when you deal with these, you focus on the a and what that looks like. So the correct answer is D right here. You did say that. Good job. All right. Y'all didn't like this one. Do y'all know what to do here? What do you do when you have exponents with similar bases and you're multiplying them? How do you simplify it? Yeah, you add the exponents. So right here, you're going to add 2/3 and 3/4. And to do that, it's annoying, but you got to do it. So you have so you keep the same base and you just add the exponents. So that's at least what I did. I don't know if y'all did that. But your correct answer right there is B. Can't see the question. Are you looking for this one right here or the second question? Okay. Okay, I'm still sharing the screen. All right. And now I'm trying to keep that one behind. State the domain and range of the function. So this right here is an exponential function. All right. So it's in A is above 1, so it's going to look something like this. And that is completely ugly and wrong. And it's always 1 at x equals 0 unless you have an asymptote. Since it's above 1, it's going to go up. But it's going to be available from -infinity to infinity. So the domain is one of these. You can mark out C since you know the domain. And it does exist at 0. All right, so the domain of 2 to the x, or the range of 2 to the x is from 0 to infinity. But you have an asymptote. So that means it's from 5 to infinity. You can mark out this one since you know it's 0 to infinity. But it's an asymptote. You can't have 5. It'll never touch 5. It'll always be slightly greater than it, no matter where it's at. So your correct answer, B. You got to pay attention to the parentheses and the brackets. Any questions on that one? All right, he went over this one today, one-to-one function. Pretty much horizontal line test. I think that's what it was. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I fell asleep for about 45 minutes because I didn't sleep well last night. I was focusing on something else. What'd y'all get for this answer? I think it's the horizontal line test. Yeah, all right. I got no as well. It is a function, but it doesn't pass the horizontal line test because you got 2 y values for each one. So. All right. Remember what I said? The inverse of a function is reflected across the y equals x line. Never mind, that's supposed to go up here. But it's reflected across the line that looks kind of sort of like that. So at whatever point this is, it's going to be in the same exact place. But this, say it's like at -6 right here, it's going to be a -6 down here. So it's flipped across that line. And this, since it's right here, pretty much just have to swap the x's and y's To do this, you swap the x and y coordinates. Honestly, that's really how you do it. But this is going to be up here, and it's going to be moving this way. So your correct answer is B. Any questions on this one? I know I went through that kind of sort of fast. Is it making sense? All right. All right. How do they teach you how to find the inverse of a function? Because for me, they told me to swap x and y and solve for y. So I'd get x equals 2y minus 5. And then you solve for x, you get y equals x plus 5 over 2. So I would have put D. That's just me.
Hey, I have a quick question.
All right.
For our homework assignments, the prerequisite skills quiz, do you know if we're getting graded on that?
I have no idea. You're gonna have to email him about that one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know a lot of the class politics. I'm one of the professors, y'all are, so. All right, this one. So 4.5 in terms of natural log of 2 and natural log of 3. So he wants everything in natural logs of 2 and 3, and you got to use these properties. And he gives you multiple choice, so that's nice. So here's how when I first looked at it, I thought about it. So I was like, all right, he wants it in 2 and 3, so he wants natural log of 3 squared over 4. He broke it up to where it was natural log of 4, to where it was natural log of 9 over 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. In my mind, since he wants it in 3s and 2s, I immediately went to this. So ends up with natural log 3 squared minus natural log 2. Because with the property of the natural log, they're divided inside of there, you can subtract them from each other. And with this next property, you can move the 2 in front of it, so it turns into 2 natural log 3 minus natural log 2. Any questions on this one? It's one of those ones where you just have to see it mainly. The night 4.5. You mean this? What is natural log? Natural log is a function. It's ln. So it's a function. So you have log base whatever. A natural log is pretty much log of base e. It's so useful that they gave it its own terminology of natural log. Because I went to ODE, and the e to the x and pi are like the most important things in all of mathematics. No. Oh, because natural log, you have to have a number inside of it. It's 4.5, so it's instead of a fraction, you wrote it in decimal form. Am I getting the question you're asking, or? So that's really natural log of 9 divided by 2. I just wrote it as 3 squared over 2 because when I see 2s and 3s, I want to take everything and turn it into 2s and 3s. And I would think he would want it like this, but he gave you multiple choice, so he wanted you to take it all the way down. All right. expressed as a single logarithm if possible. Oh, okay. So right here, you can break that into that's natural log of x plus 5 times x plus 5. So you just break that up, simplify that, and minus natural log of x plus 5. And it turns into squared, x plus 5 squared over natural log of x plus 5. Oh, no, wait. Not natural log. Because when you subtract, you can divide. So you mark that out, and it just turns into natural log of x plus 5. Any questions on that one? I know I'm really messy because I'm trying to fit it in a small area. But what you do is you break this up right here. You break it up. And then you simplify. And what you could actually do is you could do natural log of x plus 5 plus natural log of x plus 5 minus natural log of x plus 5, and it would knock them out. So there's multiple ways to go about this problem. You just got to pick one. Simplify the expression e to the natural log of 6.0. All right. So natural log of e to the x equals x. E to the natural log of x equals x. So that's e to the natural log of 6.0. When you can plug in 6.0 for x, so it'll just equal 6.0. That's pretty much what that is. Any questions on that one? All right. Solve for t or y. Oh, for this one, oh, it's nice and simple. You can raise both in math. You can raise both sides like to the power like with the same base because it's the same concept when you're solving for something. So e to the natural log of y equals e to the 4x plus 5. And since these right here just equal y, so y equals 4x, e to the 4x plus 5. Any questions on that one? All right. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is log of base 8 to what power equals 512. I'm not going to lie, I have no clue. All right, just use a calculator because I'm a cheater.
It's gonna be C. So it's like 8
Yeah.
to what power is equal to 512?
Yeah, that's how I read these equations anyways. So, all right. Should have known it was going to be C. None of these other numbers make sense. All right. What's the domain of cosine inverse? You guys know?
That's C.
That's C.
I know, but what's the domain of it?
Oh no, but what's the domain of it?
Pi to 2 pi?
That's cosine. And that's,
That's cosine. And that's
what you said, pi to 2 pi? No, that's, it's negative pi over 2 to pi over 2.
negative pi over 2 to pi over 2.
Let me see.
Let me show you.
negative. This is negative pi over 2, and that's pi over 2. Actually, no. The domain is from -1 to 1 because it's the inverse. Sorry, domain is from -1 to 1. Same with a sine inverse. And the range is what changes. The range is from 0 to pi. Sorry. Yeah, you had it. But since this 1 is in the domain, you can solve it. The cosine of what equals 1 is however I read these, and it's 0. You're right. Well, the average rate of change. Y'all know how to do this one right here? Average rate of change. This is something that's going to be important later. What you do is f of b minus f of a over b minus a. Also known as the slope formula. So you get 64 plus, oh god, this is terrible. No, it's not. No, Lance, no. All right, and when you simplify this, that is 136. Did I do this wrong?
No, you're doing it right. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 126 over 7. By that.
I typed it wrong in the calculator. Yeah, it's just 18. All right. And your correct answer will be 18. So, I think there's a couple more questions, isn't there? New stuff. Evaluate the limit. All right. So, as x approaches -1 of f, this is f of x. So you're focusing on this one little point. I don't know if that means there's a hole in the graph or not, but I'm assuming negative f of x of -1 net does not exist because there's a hole. But to find the limit, you don't have a left or a right. You have both. So you have to check what is x approaching from the left. I'm assuming 2. What is x approaching from the right? 2. So therefore, oh no, that's 1. That's 1/2. So it's approaching 1/2 from the left and the right. If y'all are confused, please let me know. Limit at f of x equals 0. I got a question. I don't know what the dot is, I'm not gonna lie, especially right here. I don't know if that's supposed to mean that the function is 0 at that point, or what, or if there's a hole. So up here it looks like it would be a hole. And oh yeah, hang on, this dot. All right, the function is defined at f of -1 equals -1. So f of -1 equals -1. This is that dot I'm assuming you're talking about. But the limit as f of approaches as x approaches -1 is not -1. It's 1/2 because they are approaching this. I hope I answered your question somewhat. All right, and this one, I'm assuming f of x does not exist at 0 because it has 3 values right there. So, but you take the limit from the left. He says take a walk. Well, I just go from the left, so the minus sign on the right of it, it's -2. From the right, +2. Since they don't match up, does not exist. Any more questions?
Yeah, if you don't mind, can we go over one problem from the prerequisite homework?
Sure, hit me.
Sure, hit me.
All right. It says a triangle has a side C equals 8, and angles A equals pi/4, and B equals pi/6. Find the
So
length.
has a side c equals 8.
Has a side c equals 8.
Yes.
All right. It has what?
It has what?
Angle A equals pi/4,
Okay.
Okay.
and angle B equals pi/6. And it says to find the length A of the opposite side of angle A.
So it wants a.
So it wants A.
Yeah, and we can't see it, by the way.
Oh yeah, my bad. I keep forgetting I'm not sharing the whole screen.
I'm not sharing the whole screen.
You're good.
All right, so you need the log cosines with this
So
one.
you need to log those.
So a equals. Actually, no. You can't use log cosines. You need log sines.
So for what I did, I think is I had to complete that triangle. So I would do pi minus the sum of the other two angles. And then would do like one of the laws.
Yeah, you can do that. So like you're saying pi/2 minus pi/4 and pi/6. And so let me make sure. But I was thinking, since you have law of sines, so you have A. God almighty, that was disgusting. A over sine pi/4. And you do need that angle, you're right, equals
Yeah.
8 over sine.
Can't see it, by the way.
I can't see one note. What about now?
Yeah.
Okay. So A over sine, so 8, and you got to solve for this. So I do pi over 1/2 minus 1/4. I think that's right. Y'all aren't allowed to use calculators? They teach you square root of 2 over 2, but you can also turn sine of pi/4 into 1 over √2. A lot of times that helps out and makes things a lot easier. Sometimes it doesn't. Just pick your poison. Is that pi over 12? Yeah, it's pi over 12. Did y'all have multiple choice, or did y'all actually have to type in an answer?
We had to type in the answer.
Did it want decimal or the exact answer?
I think this one was the weird one where it says type in the exact answer, but when you do it, it's still in like radical form. I don't know.
That's as far as you can simplify it. I don't know what sine of pi over 12 is. So, pi over 6 is as low as I go. Did y'all type that in and it not work? Yeah, so that's as far as I think you can go. It gives you some weird decimal answer if you don't do it like this, but this is exactly what I would do. Because you can do this to square root of 2 over 2. You can simplify. Never mind. Wrong. That's as simple as I would be able to get it. So, any more questions? Because I think we're out of time. Type the whole number in. I got a program on my calculator. It solves it. Yeah, no, I deleted that program. It took up too much. But any more questions? Because we are out of time. And I had to take a test today, funny enough. And if y'all don't have any more questions, I will see y'all next time. And Wednesday we are going over trig, so I hope I helped out a little bit, but let me know if y'all have questions, any suggestions to improve anything. If not, I will see y'all Wednesday.